we go.
Welcome, everybody, to the May 27th, 2025 Commissioners Meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Agenda has been provided before the meeting. Is there any additions or corrections to the agenda as presented?
Mr. Chairman, I do have two minor ones. Item 4, consent agenda, hospital warrants. The amount or the record is $993,357.03. 993,357.03. Item 5, miscellaneous offlines. That amount is 0 this time. Talked with Sandy Schlechter at PCMC, and they're going to be doing the hospital miscellaneous offlines monthly. So I'll have amounts at the first meeting and not the second meeting of the month. So I'll just keep leaving that there. And so we'll just leave it at that if that's all right.
Yep, that's fine.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman, for additions.
Those additions, I'll move the agenda.
I will second.
Okay, thank you. A motion and second to approve the agenda. Any other discussion? Not all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, I'll look for approval of the consent agenda, which includes meeting minutes of 5/13/25, commissioners warrants of $116,009.78, auditors warrants of 5/16/5/22, and hospital warrants of $993,357.03.
Mr. Chair, I'd move for approval. I'll second it.
Motion second, approve consent agenda. Any further discussion? Not all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, first order of business, we have Nick Bergman, highway engineer.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Nick. All right, first up for me, request to approve a right-of-way payment. It's for a box culvert project over by Holland. Nothing out of the ordinary for this one. Move for approval. Second.
Motion second, approve the audit warrant. Right away. Any further discussion? Not all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next up for me, would be the request to purchase some spray chemicals. We reached out to 4 local suppliers, 2 of them bid. And the low bid was Edgerton Ag for $14,971.25. And there may be a chemical tax on top of that. It's not sales tax, it's different, so. They didn't say what that would come out to, but they just, whatever 0.82% is on top of that, so.
Move to approve purchase the chemicals.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Is there a second?
I'll support that.
Dallas. Motion second, approve the low bid to Edgerton Ag. Is there any further discussion?
I had a question for Nick. Do they still do state contract pricing with Nutrien or?
I'm not sure, you know, Nate, I always tell him to ask for that, but, I did not double check with him if he did that or not.
Should probably look into that. That's where it always came from before. It was Nutrien, but it was a state contract pricing.
Okay.
And you could check with them. Maybe they're giving you that price, but I'm just making sure that we're.
No, you're right. I'll do that. Is it okay then to go forward with Edgerton Ag if that already is the state contract price from Nutrien?
Well, I would say if it's close or, you know, if it is state contract pricing or if
Yeah.
it's less or
Confirm that, I guess.
that would be my opinion, you know.
No, that makes sense to me, but. Okay, I'll check with him and confirm that that is state contract pricing, and if not, if it gets below that Edgerton Ag bid, then I'll then we'll go with whatever's cheaper, you know,
Well, and I'm not sure if Edgerton Ag is on the state contract, but Nutrien was always on the state contract.
right?
So it still may be higher than Edgerton Ag is where I'm at, so.
Yeah,
but-
no, I-
But you probably look into it, so.
Yep, I'll double check, I'll confirm that, yeah.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Not, I'll call the question. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next up, it's getting that time of year again. We should probably set a date for fuel bid opening if we're gonna do that. I assume we want to do that again, so. Either the 10th or the 24th work for me.
Ninth through 23rd.
I moved to set it at like 10 o'clock on the 24th.
Yep.
Or 10:30, which do you prefer? You have any?
It makes no difference to me. The reason behind the 10:30 on bids used to be every once in a while, we used to get a bid in the mail on a construction project. One time the low bid did come in via snail mail. The fuel bids, they bid the morning of because they get the current prices. So like, I don't think that one needs to be later at all, but, or if they wanted to drop it off by hand, it'd probably be easier for them, you know, at 10 versus.
Okay, yeah, go at 10 o'clock on
But
June 24th.
June 24th or July?
Your note says July,
It's
but I think Luke was talking June.
no, it's for the July through December fuel bid.
Okay, so we're
But we
gonna
open it.
June.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion, a second to set the bid, fuel bid on June 24th at 10 a.m. Any further discussion? Not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Right, and then lastly for me is request purchase a dump trailer. This is something that Building and Grounds approached me about. They asked if we'd have any interest in it, and I said, well, yeah, we actually had some money budgeted a few years ago, and we ended up not doing anything with it, but so this would be a joint purchase. The two bids here, you see, you'll notice the model number's different. One's got a little thicker sidewalls, that's why it's more expensive, but I talked with Kyle, we didn't really see any, go with the more expensive one, so.
Nick, what would it be used for? What would you do with this trailer?
I think Building and Grounds would use it more than us, but we'd use it for sweeping in towns. You can load the skid steer in it, so Nate thought he might put to do some jobs like that. There's little depressions in the side of the road. We might haul some smaller quantity dirt with that, or maybe some, like if we did, he thought it might come up for some treeing jobs where you don't need like the big truck or something, but, I think Building and Grounds would use it more than us, so.
Well, yeah, the highway department, they have, 5 dump trucks? So
Correct.
it usually gets,
Yep.
That's what gets used there usually.
Right.
But what's Building and Grounds plan for it?
All right, why don't you come up to the mic, please? Thank you.
I've been working with Nick, and Nate at the highway department, and I'm taking those guys away, helping me out, moving trees and dirt. Be nice to me moving the skid loader around. I'd use it quite a bit just to help clean up stuff. Storms, always cutting, trimming trees up. I do quite a bit of that already. I've been loading everything by hand, unloading. This would just be a time saver, way more efficient for me. Main thing I would use it for. I do not have a skid loader trailer right now either, to move anything, so it'd be nice to help me move the skid loader around instead of driving across town all the time. Or like, I'm gonna do a small little project out at the Veterans Memorial. getting everything out there is kind of a pain. Moving a little bit of gravel and that would be a huge, efficient.
You feel there's enough need though in the future?
I
Or
would
is it
say, yeah,
Sit around too much up, once you get your caught up with it.
those projects will always come up, way I'm seeing it. And I've talked to Nate and Nate said they would use it a lot more instead of bringing those trucks out where they are more expensive to operate some of the smaller projects they would have in the highway department. He would just hook it up to a pickup truck and go and not waste everything on a big truck is kind of what we were discussing. So that's why we would split it 50-50. Is kind of what we were talking about. It'd be a benefit for both of us is what we were kind of viewing.
One other thing, Nick, that ambulance will be coming whenever, we talked about maybe putting a small dump body on that. You think about that instead of this, or?
We could, I guess I had planned on just a flatbed, but
Well, they make those with the dump body and then the side folds down and,
Yeah.
I know we had talked about it, but
yeah, I remember
didn't
talking
know
about it
you-
a while back,
Yeah.
but I guess I had planned on a flatbed, but I mean, I'm not opposed to a dump body.
well, no,
but
I'm just
If we got,
running things by here. Yeah.
if we went with this dump trailer here, then I would probably just look at a dump or flatbed on the other one, but I mean, we can price them both ways and see.
Hmm.
I know Nate had looked into dump body and, it was a ways to travel to get one. Is a little bit of research, but get one retrofitted,
For the ambulance.
correct.
Yeah, okay.
It was like something way out east, I believe, retrofitted for. Yeah,
Seems odd.
it does seem odd. Like I said, we'd have to do more research on that, but I haven't done a whole lot.
Doug, that wouldn't give us the ability though to use it for a skid loader trailer as well too. I like the idea of being able to have that dual purpose with skid loader trailer
Well, they just bought a new one though too, so.
at the highway department.
So you'd have a total of 5 trailers, 5 flatbed trailers.
Yeah.
3 of them could run, 3 of them you could load a skid loader on, 3 of them.
Yeah, right.
Mr. Chairman,
Alex, go.
I speak in favor of the purchase. It's, if you had one, you'll find a lot more uses for it.
Yeah.
And like you said, the fact that you can take trees, or something and dump it instead of having to hand load them twice.
And I can see the advantage, the independence of building grounds from highway department, not having to run out there every time you want to move that skid loader, because you move that skid loader around a lot.
We drive it a lot right now and that's
not
kind of,
So he could borrow the trailer.
Yeah. Does this trailer have ramps with it
yes,
already?
yep.
Does it have surge brake or electric brake on this one?
I
Electric brake.
believe.
Yeah. And for that, what is it, about $500 difference for the thicker metal? How is it worth that?
How much thicker is it, huh?
Yeah, how much thicker is it?
Sidewalls, I don't, me personally, I wouldn't benefit.
You don't think it's
all.
worth that extra 500?
Main thing for me is the pan, the floor, because if we're dumping any kind of concrete or anything, you see a lot of those dump trailers get damaged and wavy, where this one's got the 7 gauge flooring, which is pretty heavy. That would be the main benefit of the flooring. The sidewalls wouldn't benefit me any. I don't know about Nate or Nick on the highway department side.
Where do you think you're gonna store it at?
It would be at the highway department.
Not at the fairgrounds, but the.
No, it'd be at the highway department, but working with Nate and Nick, they helped me out a lot already with
Sure.
moving stuff. It'd be pretty easy to work with each other.
I agree with you, Dallas. I hate spending money, but I think this would be very efficient. So in fact, I'll go ahead. Motion been made yet? I don't think that.
No, that was.
I'll make a motion. We approve the purchase of the $11,000, $549 dump trailer.
And I'll support that.
Motion second, approve the bid from Advantage RV for the iron bull dump trailer. Is there any further discussion?
Nick, where is the Advantage RV? Where is that?
Watertown, South.
Watertown.
Okay.
There's a lot of dealers around.
I've searched-
Those areas and stuff.
I've searched all around. This is by far the cheapest for this brand. And for the built of this, they're beating it quite a bit for similar models by up to 3,000 on some of these models. We looked at Mid-Soda, H&A, all these other brands with the heavy gauge floor. This is by far the
I
cheapest.
just never heard of that.
Yeah, and honestly, my prior employment, I bought one and I searched a ton for a lot of trailers like this. And that was by far the cheapest. And actually, 2 years ago, we bought this was 14,000. And this is a pretty good price on this trailer.
This one have capability of stake sides on it, so if you want to raise the,
Yep. Yep, you can raise the sides. It's a pretty heavy built trailer.
they have tie downs in it already.
Yep, there's eyelets inside the trailer or like hooks and the two in the front, one in each corner essentially. Yep. So it's lights, brakes, nice ramps.
Battery comes with it. I assume.
There's a charger, a trickle charger on it, so you can plug it in like an extension cord, and you can plug that in and it'll keep the batteries maintained. It's not essentially a battery charger, just a maintainer.
Is it a 2-cylinder or a single cylinder?
Single cylinder. You go with a double cylinder, you're gonna spend a lot more money. And for what we would use it for, I don't see the use for that. You know, something heavier, we would definitely go with a dump truck, just mainly more lighter.
I know I've seen the skid loader driving all over town over the years too, especially to the fairgrounds and back too, and that's,
Yeah.
that takes a little bit. to take a
Yeah,
while, so.
it just would be more efficient, for me. And then like, I want to do a little more projects, out at like, cemeteries. There's a few things we could use it for, Veterans Memorial, and that's right now, but I'm sure more future projects will pop up. I'm trying to look out for the future as well.
Did you talk about budget already?
Yeah,
Oh.
we budgeted 7,000 for something like this back in 2021. We had some staffing turnover and it just, whatever.
Anyway, you got money, so you got funds set aside for it.
Yes, I do. Yep. Yep, 7,000 back in 2021.
What about the rest of it though?
That would be his,
Is that in the budget or
Building and grounds come out of that,
in the budget or?
money for it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Not all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries.
all right, any other questions for me? Otherwise, that's all I had for today.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Yep.
All right. Next up, we have Chris Webb, SRDC. Morning, Chris. You ready? We're ready for you.
Oh, morning commissioners. Yeah, so my name is Chris Webb. I'm a transportation planner at the Southwest Regional Development Commission over in Slayton. I think several of you, all you're kind of familiar with SRDC's work in the region. We serve 9 counties in Southwest Minnesota. So what I'm here today for is to discuss the Safe Streets for All planning grant. This is a federal planning grant that is being offered, solicitations being offered through the United States Department of Transportation. And the SRDC is planning to apply to create a comprehensive regional safety plan is what it is. The SRDC would run the administrative side of the grant. So we would write the grant and administer everything, work with USDOT and all the reporting, all that side of it. What we're looking for is from some of our counties is to participate in this planning grant. The end goal is to, between the SRDC and a regional engineering firm that we partner with, would be to create a safety action plan, which basically what that means is we'd be looking at 3 or 4 intersections and or road segments in each county to identify safety enhancements to make that intersection or segment safer. And that could be for pedestrians, for car traffic or for commercial traffic, commercial truck traffic. So the plan isn't limited to like one mode of travel. And that gives us flexibility to say, for this intersection, it would be pedestrians. For another intersection, it would be cars. So it kind of gives you that flexibility as you're looking to see what you want to improve safety-wise, what different options you have. Some examples could be adding right turn lanes to an intersection or installing rectangular flashing beacons for increased pedestrian safety. Those types of safety improvements. So the end goal of this planning grant is to give our counties and cities what they need in order to go after larger state or federal grants to install these safety enhancements eventually. And so the SRDC would lead the community engagement. We would have some community surveys. We would do that side of it. And then we'd work with a regional engineering firm that would work on pre-design, working with cities and counties, engineering staff, county commissioners, giving you a couple alternatives per intersection, per segment, what you could do, what you could look for to apply for instance, for highway safety improvement grants or for federal grants that would be larger down the road type of situations. Any questions?
Yes, so the elected officials' involvement then, is that going to be ongoing from year to year, or that's just going to be for the one time?
So what we're looking for from our participating counties would be two things, well, three things actually, but the major two would be for one of the county commissioners of each county that participates to serve on like an advisory committee of sorts, a policy advisory committee, we're calling it, and they would meet 3 or 4 times during the grant while the grant is active, so over the next 2 years. And then we'd also be looking for a county staff person, whether that be your county engineer or another staff person, to serve on the technical group. So that would be the group that would be meeting with our engineering partner firm. They would be looking at crash data from MnDOT's Min crash system. And they'd be looking at some more of those technical, like what are some of the alternatives? So they'd be looking at more of that aspect of things. And again, that group would meet probably 3 to 4 times over the next couple of years.
Along with your data collection, then you'd also would refer to the sheriff's department as well too for data. I think that'd be a pretty good resource.
Yeah, I think that would be a part of as we would go through the Min crash system and some other data points through that, we would involve the sheriff's office to talk about, okay, there's this intersection. We've noticed there's so many X number of crashes over the last several years. So we would talk to many different people, including the sheriff's office and probably state troopers, about why is that happening? What's leading towards it? What are 1 or 2 safety improvements we could make at this intersection or on this segment of road to try to make it safer in the future?
Will you be looking at state highways and county highways both?
So on this plan, again, so it'd be for any mode of travel, but it also isn't limited to the trunk highway system. So it could be, so it could be on a state highway, it could be on a CASA, it could also be on a local road. So if there's an intersection in Pipestone or Edgerton, yep, it could be on a local road as well.
Streets.
Local street, yeah. Mm-hmm.
How does this correlate with safe routes to school? Is there a correlation there as well, or?
So the correlation would be that safe routes to school is a very, very specific and very pinpointed grant and program that just targets students traveling to and from school or school activities. And so with this grant, we can look at any mode of travel, but we could look at safe routes options in different communities with this grant. Again, it's kind of based off of a certain road segment or intersection, but so say if there was a community in the county that hasn't had a safe routes plan, or maybe has had one, that's maybe getting a little older, this planning grant could look at an intersection or a segment of road in that community to create safety enhancements. Yes.
Is there a cost share?
Yeah, so that was a third thing that I was talking about. So what SRDC is looking at is doing a cost share of $1,000 per intersection or segment that is identified in each county. And so we anticipate each county that is participating would have 3 or 4. And so you'd be looking at a cost share of $3,000 or $4,000. That would not be due until the grant would be completed, which we're anticipating would be 2027.
And that cost share would be for the study only, not for any physical work.
Right, that would just, yeah, that would be the match. So it's an 80-20 grant through the U.S. Department of Transportation. We anticipate the grant amount to be around $300,000. And so the SRDC will put forward that 20% match. And so some of that match is going to come from the SRDC ourselves, probably from our levy dollars. And then again, we'd be looking for 3,000 or 4,000 from each participating county. And we anticipate that each intersection or road segment would have between 30 and 40 hours of engineering time from our partner engineering firm. And so from that perspective, you would be getting between 30 and 40 hours of engineering time per intersection for $1,000.
May I ask?
Yeah, yeah. Nick's, did he stay?
Nick, while you're here.
He stuck around. Yeah.
Yep. Bandwidth, you'll have enough time to help with this.
So, yeah, I mean, that's the goal of having our engineering firm to be a part of the grant process, is that they would take on the bulk of the work. And so really Nick's position would be attending, 3 or 4 meetings with our engineering firm, and then possibly coming to 1 or 2 open houses that we have in the community. So when we're looking at a couple of different segments, whether that was a segment in Pipestone or a segment in another community, so that, if he or someone else from his office wants to come and attend that and meet with people, talk about those alternatives. I mean, I think we're looking at, from a county employee perspective, we'd be looking at probably 8 to 10 hours worth of their time over 2 years.
Do you need all the counties involved in SRDC to buy into this program to make this work, or can you do it with partial?
So we're going to do it with partial. At this time, we're planning to go with 4 of our 9 counties in the area for this plan. There's a couple of different reasons for that, but so one example is, so this planning grant has been around for the past 3 or 4 years. And so Nobles County applied for their own planning grant last year, just for their county. They had a specific intersection that they really wanted to work on. And so they applied for their own grant. SRDC didn't know about that. And then there's a couple other counties on the eastern side who have gone through a couple of rounds of safety plans through MnDOT. And so they won't be participating either. So I think we're at 4 right now.
Chairman, are there any preconceived notions that you're gonna aim for, like J-turns and roundabouts, things like that?
No, and we really want this to come from Nick, from his office, from the other offices in the county, other counties that are participating, or from our county commissioners, or from the people that we're doing the surveys with. So that's one of the reasons why we're not bringing in a engineering firm from the cities. So we're working with the regional engineering firm. So we'll be working with Bollig Engineering. They have their main office is out of Wilmer, but they're also opening an office in Sioux Falls, or they have actually. And so we're working with the local engineering firm. We want our regional folks to decide how they want to improve their roads, their system. So if there's an intersection that there's been a lot of crashes on, we talk to state troopers, we talk to the county sheriff, we talk to Nick, we say, okay, we need to come up with 2 or 3 options on how to improve safety enhancements. That is, our engineering firm is going to work on those alternatives, but we're not going to say this is what you need to do to make it safer. We're not going to say you have to do a J-turn, or you have to do a roundabout, or you have to do these things. Because again, the end goal is that eventually cities and counties would take this plan and then would apply for the grants to have those improvements installed, those safety enhancements installed. So we don't want to give you something that you have no intention of using in the future.
Talked about safe routes to school.
Yep.
Edgerton pursued a safe routes to school grant, and it came back so atrocious that we decided not to do it. Sent it back.
Yep.
It was awful.
Physical plan or the cost,
The plan.
the plan itself you didn't like.
I would say SRDC was not involved in that.
Not involved in that. Good.
I mean, there's a couple of things specifically with that plan that didn't work out for that community. I don't want to get into the particulars here unless you want to, but I can tell you that this plan would be looking at making safety improvements that the county commissioners, that the engineering department wants to make in the future. Again, we wouldn't want to give you an alternative to say, hey, build a J-turn or put in a roundabout, and you're never, if you don't think you're ever going to do that, why would we give that to you? Then it's not worth our time. It's not worth your time. So we really want to focus on what could you apply for in the next 5 to 10 years, either through a state program or a federal grant to make those improvements.
And some things just can't be fixed. Where 75 meets 30, they
Yep.
go off the end and ended up in the fairground. You know, we put up a new fence every year just about. And I don't know how you would fix that.
That's a good question.
Put a sand pit or something
Yeah.
before they got there.
I-
Run off.
There you
yeah.
go.
Chris, I see you've got this down for information.
Yep.
How soon do you need a decision made on this?
The grant is due by the end of June. And so probably at your next meeting.
I would really like to have our road and bridge people take a
Yep.
deep dive on this and visit with Nick and with
Yep.
Keith and get some more input. I'm not ready to make a decision yet, so.
No, and I wasn't expecting you to make one today. Yeah, I'd say by your next meeting, that would give us time to put things together to make sure Pipestone County was included. And then if you do decide to move forward, I would need like a letter of support and then meeting minutes, when you do take a vote, that we can provide those as attachments in our grant application.
The other 3 counties, then would this be a collaborative effort or it'd be four different plans?
No, so it would be a single plan. And then each county would have its own section in that plan. So we'd break it up into, we'd have an intro, kind of a beginning part where we talk about general safety enhancements and kind of make some lists and talk about the data, things that we've covered. Then each county would have its own section in the plan. And then we have, appendices and different things in the back that talk more about the data collection and those sorts of things. But it would be one single document.
Okay. And you know what the other partner counties would be at this point, or what are the counties you're looking at?
So right now it's Lincoln, Pipestone, Lyon, and then I have to go talk to Murray still. I think there may be.
Luke?
Well, the name Safe Streets for All, it sounds great. I mean, who doesn't want that? But to me, it seems so duplicative of what we already do. I mean, our highway department, our road and bridge committee, I mean, we look at this kind of stuff all the time. If there's an issue, we just address it. I don't think we need to spend a couple $100,000 or whatever
Duplicate efforts.
to, have some study that's gonna sit on the shelf and nobody's gonna look at and I don't know, just seems like we're trying to figure out a way to spend somebody's money here that's not necessary, and I would not be in favor of doing this.
But we can take a look at it.
We can take a look at it, but I mean, to me, we do this currently on a regular basis ourselves. So if there's an issue, we just, it's like Diamond Corner. We all know there've been tons of accidents there, but so we have a flashing stop sign and, you do what you can, but I mean, if somebody's not gonna pay attention, to a lit up sign, we can't fix stupid. I mean, you drive through it and, can't claim you didn't see it when it's lit up 24/7.
Steve, what does our calendar look like? Put it on the agenda for an upcoming meeting and time to go ahead and give you what you need.
Mhm.
Because you said by the end of,
So the grant is due by, the application ends at the end of, or it closes at the end of June, I should say.
doesn't
Yep.
give us a lot of time.
Your meetings are the 10th and 24th, so
And I don't think by the tenth that we could gather enough information. So I don't know if on the 24th, if we can make a decision on the 24th on this.
If that's soon enough.
Yeah, I think that'd be doable. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the timing was just very tight because it's a federal grant, we didn't know if it was gonna be available. And so we kind of had to wait and wait and wait, and then it finally opened, and
Then it
then,
may
yeah,
not be.
so
Yeah.
it was just tight to, the timing is just tight for everybody because we just weren't sure if it was gonna be open or not.
Nick, would that give you enough time to work with Road and Bridge and come up with a recommendation for us?
June 24th?
Looks like we'll put that on our calendar for the 24th, Chris.
And then I offered this to all the other county boards I met with, but if you have any other questions on any other SRDC things, I'm here to, but I didn't know if you had any other ones, so.
Well, we have Chris here. Does anybody else have any questions for him? Current SRDC?
Their
any
programs or their things while I'm here.
Did our emergency plan ever get done?
Emergency
Wasn't-
plan.
Isn't Jay working on some like,
Well, the Southwest Regional, the solid waste plan.
no, not the solid waste one. Like for, isn't he working on some? You know, like for
Yes.
the name of it, but
I don't remember what the name of it is.
I know it had dragged on for.
Hazard mitigation
Yeah,
plan.
that's it.
I think that's probably still in process, I'm guessing.
But that's dragged
Hold
on
around
for
every 5
years.
years. You're probably not involved. in
Yeah,
that.
I know that you have to read that every 5 years as a county. I haven't heard anything about that, but I could follow up with Jay.
Sure.
Yeah,
Is he redoing it for you? Like rewriting it?
it was time again to go through it again, if I remember right.
Oh, okay. I can check in with Jay on that.
Sure.
Yep. Sure. Okay. All right.
Anything else for Chris?
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll
Okay.
confirm with Casey on that, where that's at on her side. She'll know. I'll get back to you on that.
All right. Next up, we have Eric and John from US and Wildlife Service. I think it's been a few years since we've seen you guys.
Welcome.
Welcome. There we go. That's
Feel like that long ago, but
great. Familiar faces, all the same. Welcome back.
Yeah, good morning. So my name is Eric Earhart. I'm a realty specialist with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I deal primarily with acquisition. Then I've got with me, John Byer. So John kind of fills two different roles. He's the Wyndham Wetland District Manager, which encompasses counties in Southwest Minnesota. And he's also the acting, this is kind of a long one, acting Northern Tallgrass Prairie National Wildlife Refuge leader. So
That means he's the grass guy? Yeah.
Specializes in grass.
So, why are we here today? There's essentially a couple reasons. So number one, we wanted to inform the board of the Northern Tallgrass Prairie Program, its goals and available funding sources used to acquire properties from willing sellers. Again, this presentation is a little bit different from maybe the last time we were here. As we don't have a specific project to discuss. It's more of a informational meeting, more of a question and answer in regards to the Tallgrass Prairie Program. Then secondly, the Fish and Wildlife Service will be requesting a motion of non-objection to acquire properties either in fee title or easement using what we call the Land and Water Conservation Fund within the Northern Tallgrass Prairie National. So the last time we met, just to kind of go back in time a little bit here, We met in regards to a habitat easement or conservation easement. It was in Eden Township. Do we have a map of that by chance that we could show? I think I provided. Map.
You got one.
It was the one that says habitat easement on the bottom.
Yep.
So again, this is just kind of a background, what our conservation easements, habitat easements look like. It's kind of bordered in gray. It doesn't show real well on your map. Most of that property was native prairie. And then again, there was a few areas identified kind of in blue that were small wetlands on the property. So again, just a broad example of what a habitat easement looks like. And then again, when we acquire easements or properties from willing sellers, we have different funding sources. So this particular project, we use what we call migratory bird conservation funds. And so I think the last time I asked if there was any migratory waterfowl hunters in here, I can't remember. Does anybody currently hunt migratory birds or have you in the past at all? Nothing? I'm seeing maybe all right.
That's right.
So each year, if you're over the age of 16 and you want to hunt migratory birds in the state of Minnesota, you have to buy both a state duck stamp and a federal. And so essentially we refer to that as the Duck Stamped Act. So as a waterfowl hunter, you're actually promoting conservation. And so that's where we get a lot of our migratory bird conservation funds come from, is through the sale. Again, when we acquire properties, again, there's a lot of times we've got flexibility depending on what source of funding we want to use. Again, this was a good fit to use migratory bird conservation funds, like really because of the wetlands. Easements are fee purchase properties that we do acquire from willing sellers. It's important to know that money does not come from, it's not funded through tax dollars. Again, most are funded through that migratory bird conservation fund. We are required, due to a procedural agreement that we have with the Minnesota DNR, every time we spend money, our migratory bird conservation funds, we come to that applicable county and notify them of that project. So we do that because of that procedural agreement. Again, it's good just to inform the county what's going on. And again, it kind of has that good question answer feel to it. So that's typically how we've done that. The reason we're here today is we want to talk about other funding sources other than the migratory bird. We have another one, which we call the Land and Water Conservation Fund. Sometimes we'll refer to it as LWCF. So it's just another funding source that we use. The primary source of revenue for the Land and Water Conservation Fund is from federal and oil gas leases. So the Land and Water Conservation Fund uses revenue from the depletion of resources such as offshore oil or gas and uses them to conserve other resources, which includes parks, national wildlife refuges, forests, open space, trails, and wildlife habitat. That just kind of gives you the two different funding sources and kind of where that money comes from. So here in a bit, I'm going to have John again talk about our Northern Tallgrass Prairie program and its goals, and maybe look at a few examples. So I think I did share there was two other maps that he may want to reference. One is the Pipestone Creek unit of the Northern Tallgrass Prairie National Wildlife Refuge. And then actually kind of a bigger overview map that shows kind of the Northern Tallgrass Prairie project area. John, I guess I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, we can start there. If you guys want to take a look at the project map of the Northern Tallgrass Prairie, it'd be this one. As you'll see, it's about the Northern Tallgrass Prairie Refuge is the tallgrass, what used to be the Tallgrass Prairie areas of western Minnesota and northwest Iowa. So there's actually 85 counties that make up the Northern Tallgrass Prairie Refuge. And it was established in 2000 to address the loss of America's grasslands and the decline of grassland dependent wildlife species. Like I said, the Fish and Wildlife Service is authorized to when I mean work, it's acquire lands in 85 counties in western Minnesota and northwest Iowa. To date, the refuge protects more than 15,000 acres, both in fee title and easement in those areas. And I just wanted to kind of give you guys an update of kind of where we're at in Pipestone County. There's currently only one fee title area in Pipestone County, and that's the Pipestone Creek unit. So I'm certain everybody here is familiar with the Pipestone National Monument. The Pipestone Creek unit is the unit that is directly north of the Pipestone National Monument. So I think probably a lot of folks don't even know that where the monument boundary and the refuge boundary lies. But essentially it's that northern part of what looks to be the monument, the grasslands there. It's about 118 acres, the Pipestone Creek unit. And then also in Pipestone County, the Fish and Wildlife Service manages 18 habitat easements with private landowners for a total of approximately 1,286 acres. So these would be similar to the map that we provided to you and we looked at here just a few moments ago. Think pasture lands with rock outcroppings in many instances. In those cases, landowners retain all access rights, so they're not open to the public for hunting. And easements are working lands agreements. And what we mean by that is livestock can graze on those areas, or the property can be hayed after the July 15th. Or a combination of both. So when we work with landowners, they decide which rights they want to retain. So they are working lands agreements. So and then in total, just to kind of give a breakdown of the total acres, in Minnesota and Iowa, there's approximately 6,000 acres of fee title ownership that the Fish and Wildlife Service owns for the Northern Tallgrass Prairie Refuge. So the remaining acres, so about roughly 9,000 acres is easements, just to give you a feel for kind of the breakdown. So with that, I'd be happy, and Eric and I would be happy to try and answer any questions that you might have. I did include a map, or Eric did, of the Pipestone Creek unit for those that might not be familiar with that in the packet as well. So.
Any questions?
Yeah, I guess I do.
Yep.
So you're looking for us to basically agree that you can buy anything and never have to come before us again?
It's because the way these funding agreements are set up, it is different than like the migratory bird process that we go through. So yeah, it's not real clear to us if at this point, land and water conservation funds don't require county approval. So just the way the legislation is set up, it's different than the migratory bird program.
So if that's the case, then why do you need a letter at all?
Well, we're just, like I said, it's more of an informational opportunity for us to kind of share where we're at. But I see where you're coming from.
It's kind of like we're trying to do it on the fronts.
I mean, it's a little easier to know whether it's okay if you knew what the specific project is, but to just give
Yeah.
a blanket, oh yeah, just go ahead and get whatever you want and we'll just look the other way. I have a problem with that, I guess.
Okay. Get it.
Cause you don't know at a time what could potentially, turn up in the future, Hard to make a decision about something you don't know the details of.
Sure.
And that's the hard thing, is we're just trying to do our best to kind of talk about the different funding sources that are projects that they would be using. But is unique in that our migratory bird funds project, we come as that project is the LWCF funding, that procedural agreement. So there isn't the requirement, I guess, by project.
But couldn't you do that?
I still think, well, I don't want to speak for John, but I'll let John answer.
Yeah, we
Prefer to do that.
I think we could, and I think we're committed. That's kind of why we're here today, to try and keep a working relationship with the county. And yeah, certainly if, you know, if that's something that as commissioners, if you felt like in Pipestone County that you wanted us to do, we potentially could do that.
I think I would like that.
It's not a very big lift because like we just mentioned the last time we were here, it was
Right, and wasn't that about the
That was,
easement
yeah.
that you showed us map of?
yes, using a different funding source. So here's the thing is, we're just asking for approval potentially to use. There's not even a guarantee that would.
Right.
The water conservation. Option to do so.
I guess it was just the way it was stated as a non-objection. I mean, I don't have a problem with you potentially using the funds to do something, but I'd like to know the details of what you're using them on before deciding whether I'd want to object or not.
I believe you haven't addressed the tax capacity. You're taking this off the tax roll. So I assume that county's reimbursed through payment in lieu of taxes on this. Is that correct? Or
So there's different things, and I'll let John touch on one of them, but for our conservation easements, those remain in private ownership. So I shouldn't say there's no change, so to speak, but since it's in private ownership,
Pay
pay
taxes.
taxes just like they have. So that's in regards to our easements, and the bulk of our things we've dealt with in the past have been easements. I think we've only had one fee purchase in the county ever, and that was that pipe. Happens, but it doesn't
Very
very
often,
often.
right.
And in that regards, I think we use what's called a refuge revenue sharing, so it might be just, it's similar to the payment in lieu of taxes that you probably are familiar with on state acquisitions. Our process is similar, but yet a little bit different. So I don't know, John, if you have
Yeah.
anything to elaborate on.
Yeah, the PILT payment is what the state does for like wildlife management areas. So that is a little bit different. Like Eric said, it is called refuge revenue sharing. And the amount of funds are different. I think originally it was supposed to be 0.75% of the appraised value is what the refuge revenue sharing payment would be for the counties. But currently it's about 1/4 of 0.75%. So that's determined by, above Eric and I's pay level, obviously. It's a congressional matter. So I guess, so what does that mean? The PIL payments likely for Pipestone County from the state may be higher than like a refuge revenue sharing payment for a fee title property.
for the property then that you lease them,
Yep.
Does that change the valuation of that property?
The tax evaluation,
Yes.
so that would be, that would be up to the county assessor to make that determination. I think each county can look at it a little bit differently. But yeah, that's not dictated by the Fish and Wildlife Service, so.
But you're right, I think, and you would think there'd be consistency across the board, that all counties would look at things. I already know that's not necessarily the case, so if I were to poll every easement owner, I would say some probably continue to pay the taxes just like they had at that same rate. Some of them may talk to their assessor to see if they can be modified. Now, whether they succeed or not.
Well, and keep in mind that our assessor does not have the autonomy to do whatever they want. They have to follow state guidelines as well.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, let me clarify something. You guys are different than Pheasants Forever, things like that, right? They buy the land, take it out of production and make habitat. My son and I actually plant food plots in two different ones in Pipestone County. And every time something like that gets sold to the Pheasants Forever or whatever, I get hit by one guy in particular because the tax base is shrinking. And the PILT just doesn't cover it. He didn't know about PILT the last time I talked to him, and he modified him a little bit, but you don't specialize in buying the land and taking it away, right?
No, well, Pheasants Forever is a partner of the Fish and Wildlife Service.
It's a partner, but it's not,
Yeah,
you guys don't represent them.
yeah. And that's different than this Land and Water Conservation
okay.
Fund. Yeah.
And a lot of times the Pheasants Forever will buy land and then gift it to the DNR, who then will manage it. Even though DNR will admit that they have too much land that they can't afford to maintain what they currently have, but they continue to acquire more.
Yeah, I think that's where we're pretty selective. Again, I should probably let John touch on this, but we don't add a lot of properties and fee to our land base just for cover a big area, you have management. That's one of those things here for certain, do a lot more easements. You still have the same level of conservation, it's just in private ownership.
And isn't the management handled by the private owner then?
Yes.
Yes, we'll come in and help with the initial restoration work, whether it's wetland. And essentially, yeah, it's up to that private landowner to. So,
So the properties that this program kind of looks to either purchase in fee or easement are those properties that have never seen a plow. That's really the goal of the Northern Tallgrass Prairie Program, is to preserve some of those landscapes that, you know, in an ag dominated landscape, to try and keep some of those just small remnant prairies there for future generations. And so Eric's absolutely right. And I think the numbers in Pipestone County speak for themselves. It's about, you know, over 10-1. Oh, it's about 10-1 actually. About 12,000 acres of easements, 1,200 acres of easements to 100 and, you know, just 120, under 120 acres of fee title. So we do work a lot with landowners that want to have a working landscape with cattle and livestock and such. So
every project isn't a good project. We look at each project, you know, individual projects and rank them in terms of a good fit for us. It's not that we have open pocketbooks. It's not take on every project.
When you do acquire a property, do you do it absolutely, or do you have a 100-year lease on it?
yeah, it's all of our easements are perpetual agreements. They stay with the land. Yep. So it's, you know, a program that's enacted by Congress. So if it were to, you know, perpetual, that's kind of how I view it as anyways. It stays with the land, it stays with the deed unless, you know, unless Congress were to decide that they, you know, needed to go in production or something like that. So.
My brother-in-law actually put 60 acres into that program in Murray County, so.
Yeah, it's for some people, it's a good fit. For others, it's not. So
He thought it was gonna be a good fit, so he did it.
yeah, everybody's got different circumstances. Some folks want to have a legacy for kids or grandkids, you name it. Every situation's a little unique.
It was in the Chandler Hills area, so if you're familiar with that type of topography. It's all it's gonna be good for ever, so, you know.
I think it might be worth clarifying as well too in regards to the PILT payments. I think you have to take a real close look at those, whether they are advantageous or not to the county tax base. I hear different opinions on that, so we'd have to look more, I think, with our assessor, find out. I don't think we can make any assumptions without looking at those.
Thank you, Dan.
Well, Luke, not, so from what I'm hearing is notification is like something more on a site.
Yeah, site-specific basis,
You
right?
know, be more than happy to partner with you going forward. Absolutely support what you're doing. But I agree with Luke, we're not ready to sign away everything in perpetuity. We'd like to be involved in the process.
Right.
So if I were to ask that the Fish and Wildlife Service is requesting a motion of non-objection from the fire properties, whether it's in fee title or easement, using land and water conservation funds, again, within our Northern Tallgrass Prairie Wildlife Refuge project area, whether it's this year or future years, is that something that the commissioners would non-object to if to notify the county on a project by project basis?
But just notification in of itself is not enough. We'd like to have some governance with that as well. We don't want to just give you a blank check to do what you want. We support what you're doing, but we want to be involved in the process.
And yet I realize that we may not have the authority to have a say in the matter. You know, we probably can't stop you from moving forward with the project, I am assuming.
Right, normally we're more or less notifying, but at the same time, we want to work together. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
We don't want to be.
Partners, we want to be partners with,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But yeah, I guess I would feel more comfortable just, you know, if you get to the point where you think that something's actually gonna happen, then come on in and let's talk about it then.
So what the board wishes at this time? Yep. Okay. Doug Dallas, is that how you feel? Yep. Comfortable with
Well,
that?
I see what Luke's asking, you know, but I don't know, we can get to that point where, you know, we're approving something, you know, I don't think that's what they're.
Right, I don't think we have the authority to
Right,
approve
yeah,
or
and that's
deny what they wanna
But we
do.
just want to be informed when something's gonna happen or.
Right.
Yeah.
I just feel a little uncomfortable signing on to something that says we're never gonna object to any future acquisition when we don't know what they could potentially be.
Well, we can object, but we probably won't,
Yeah.
you really have a.
On the specific project, it's more or less, I think how I look at it is more or less what we're asking for is the availability to use land in addition to migratory bird conservation. That's kind of how I wrap my head around it. It's not really a yay or an A on a specific project. It's more or less the ability to use.
Mr. Chairman,
But-
do we need this, do you need this motion of non-objection for higher up? Is that?
Yeah.
They're requesting you to come
Yeah.
out here and do this, right?
Yeah.
Is there some way we can imply support for them, but not necessarily?
I was thinking the same thing. If we could change the wording on this motion to non-object to support, that we would support the acquisition.
And I like that. They're
But-
hung up on that word.
But they're hung up on that word, yeah.
And we're hung up on that word as well too.
You were thinking too ahead of time, if I use the word approve or support, or they all kind of mean the same thing, but that.
Oh, it means
again,
different
that
here.
non-object.
Non-object is pretty finite.
I think whatever the commissioners are comfortable with, you know. Ultimately, like we said, we want to be a good partner with you guys. So whatever if you're if you're not comfortable, that's fine. If you're comfortable saying support, that's fine. You know, and we'll,
Can we just word it that way and?
I mean, can you just say that? I mean,
Happen?
I don't mind if you access a different funding pool,
Mhm.
if that's all we're saying, because. But, I guess that's all I would want to say.
The other and the board don't have either support or enough
I don't-
information. to
I
make
don't
a
know if that's
decision
good
at this
enough or
time.
not.
So,
We're all kind of in the middle here.
Yep.
So it's just kind of like I said, that's essentially kind of what we were asked. Motion of non-objection. So if you're comfortable with that, great. If you're not, we understand. And it's to use land and water conservation fund potentially on projects
in Pipestone County, yeah.
What would you guys think of the wording, the motion be worded something to the order of support in principle, the acquisition of?
But without knowing the details, I don't know that I would support in principle, I guess. I mean, to me, stuff like this is pretty project specific.
Mhm.
well, like I said, I think John's agreeing and I'd agree too, that moving forward, we could do things exactly like we've done. Even though we're not required through a procedural agreement. Sure, just like we had before, on a site by site specific project basis. And we move forward, it would then be, we'd be here either on two different scenarios because we're using Freiburg funding just like in the past, or land and water conservation. Had to move forward. So really just asking today for ability to use funds moving forward. That's really kind of what we're trying to.
And I appreciate your willingness to do that, but of course, you may not be in your position forever. And somebody new could say, well, we don't have to do that anymore. I mean.
Well, I've been with the service for 27 years. Who knows, maybe I'll be here another 27.
Right,
To stay, but again, I do hear what you're saying.
right.
I can understand the higher ups point too, you know, if they're gonna put time and effort and money into something and then all of a sudden, oh, this county objects, you know.
Right, but I mean, I think ultimately we probably can't deny
We can't.
if they want to move forward with some, it's basically a private land transaction that we probably can't get in the middle of, but.
And we kind of dance around that. I mean, we want to be, said, good neighbors and work together, but most of the time. And we usually get it's a form, a certification form. I think the motion usually is to approve. It's more or less just acknowledging that we were here.
So do you know, like say on this piece that you already own,
Mhm.
what type of payment do we get for that in contrast to, property taxes?
I don't have those numbers with me today. Piece is pretty unique. I think that's been in federal ownership for a long time.
I think so too.
Unique in that federal property that was managed by the state
Yeah,
as well. So not to make things more confusing, but it probably the state actually maybe had at one time. Now those are gone and we've maintained.
Mhm.
well, thank you guys for coming today, but I don't think our board's, it doesn't sound like the board's supportive of taking action on this at today, in that's meeting right now.
Yeah.
But, we appreciate your, you guys coming, presenting everything that you guys do, obviously. We support you
Yeah.
guys thoroughly. But
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
for your
thank
time.
you.
Next up, Kyle Career. On environmental service GIS geometry proposal today. Morning.
Okay, we discussed this at various department head meetings, about going to an every other year pictometry flight. Our last one was done in 2024. So 2026 would be our next flight. Before you is, it's the agreement with pictometry, identifying the entire county flight along with the areas of Edgerton and Pipestone being in a higher resolution. With a total cost estimate of $33,463 payable over 4 payments. Which would be for, this contract is for 2 flights, so each flight would be, 66,800 or 900 some dollars, so. That is what I'm proposing for your action today. The proposed expenditure plan, that I've included is our riparian protection aid funds that we've been receiving since the buffer law was put in place. We've been receiving about 100,000, give or take, annually from the legislature. I believe that's slated to go away after this year, which with the deficit, I don't see that probably continuing. But I did lay out with our proposed expenditures, with the pictometry flights, some GIS contract maintenance of about 12,000, which probably will change over the years also. And then some about 15,000 additional for contracted GIS services through Pro West or whoever we choose to go with. That number is flexible too, but it would currently provide us about 10 years of operating with an every other year pictometry flight. Any questions, concerns? After the funds are gone, I would assume the county would want to continue having those imagery flights, but would need to find other revenue sources for that, whether that's the, whatever funds the county might have or levy dollars. We have been kind of on a random flight basis where we started the flights in 2007. We did a 13, 16, and so we've been kind of shooting about a 4-year flight. For the assessors, that seems to be getting quite a ways out. So I think everyone was supportive of having it closer together since we do have the monies and get an every other year, something more current. It is widely used. All the cities do have access to the imagery also through the program, through pictometry, the Eagle View online. So it is widely used throughout the county.
Mr. Chair,
Go
so
ahead.
my question then, just clarify, so the funding of this, so you're telling me right now that we've got enough funding that we've received from the state set aside that we can do this until the year 2020, 2035?
Yep, approximately. I mean, that's if the board chooses to use those riparian protection aid funds for this purpose.
Because currently, none of this is being funded by levy money at all. This is all coming from state grant money.
Yeah, over the years, the first flight, the soil and water paid for half, the county paid for half. Another flight was paid out of the recorder fund.
Fees, yeah.
Yep, recorder fees fund. And then after we started receiving these buffer enforcement dollars, we did pay for our last flight with those dollars. And I've been using these dollars to pay for our ESRI, the ESRI payments for program maintenance and contracts with Pro West.
Okay. So again, with the assumption that these funds may be discontinued coming in, we still got a reserve balance to take us for another 10 years.
Correct.
And those reserve years, reserve funds for 10 years covers 100% of it, or we still have to take out of the general levy to pay for any of it?
Nope, I'm expecting it to cover the 100% if the board chooses to spend out spend that money on this purpose.
Right.
But you have the authority to do whatever you want with those dollars.
And those funds in that account, can they be used for anything else other than for this purpose?
We've never received direct guidance from the legislature. Every county is doing it a little bit different. Some are trying to, we have a county attorney on staff. That's what the purpose of these riparian funds were for, is to do follow-up enforcement on buffer non-compliance. We haven't needed the legal expenditure, to my knowledge, at this time, nor I don't expect us to in the future. We did send out some enforcement violation letters recently to about a handful of individuals, giving them the 11 months to comply with the buffer law, where thereafter they can be taken to court and find our daily fee if we choose through the enforcement process. So we do have some action in place, but that, in my opinion, that's a county attorney's responsibilities, regardless of having these dollars available for that or not.
I understand you probably can't or shouldn't talk too specifically about those 11 violations, but basically, are they something that we'll be able to work through, you think, without a lot of issues, or some that can be
Generally,
contention?
yeah, generally that's the whole purpose is to notify them and
They're pretty well, they're open to compliance,
somewhat.
some. Some.
The hired man tilled too far, too close to the stream. There's always the hired man's
Yeah,
fault.
the hired man anyway.
He's hired.
Yeah, I see the value in continuing
More than once.
And I guess my take on this is that these dollars they're being used to provide imagery for us to verify compliance with the buffer law. So it's a valid, legitimate expenditure of the dollars.
I remember that discussion at the time that we did it. That makes good sense.
Yeah.
It really does. And hopefully, in 10 years, we'll be able to find other funding to continue this process without having to go to the levy.
Right.
When it comes to compliance, you'll probably find there's more structures that are going up without a permit than there are non-compliance with the buffer law.
Yep, absolutely.
We did also do that. We used our 24 imagery to compare with the previous flight and send out about 50 notice of after the fact building permits. So
Like 10 times as many as the buffer.
Yeah, right.
I'll just comment, even for personal use too, I'm very in favor of the program. I think it's very sophisticated and
That's a
very,
great tool.
absolutely. Open obviously for all the county residents too, so. Very,
Pretty clear for.
it's a very good product. Is there a motion to,
I'd move to
Okay.
move forward with this.
thank you, Luke.
I will second.
Thank you, Dan. Motion second to approve the GIS spectrometry proposal by Kyle. Buffer enforcement grant, is there any further discussion? Not all in favor signify by saying aye.
Right.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
okay, thanks.
Thank you. That concludes all of our regular business. Moving on to other business, HR updates.
Good morning, Commissioners.
And
The following staffing difference. This report includes a summary of current job postings, recent vacancies, and recent hires. As of today, we have 2 positions open and accepting applications, our administrative support specialist for the extension office and our county assessor position in the assessor's office. Our deputy treasurer 1 position closed on Sunday, so we'll be reviewing those applications and looking to interview the qualified candidates relatively soon, hopefully this week, if not early next week. Recent vacancies. I wanted to take a moment to recognize the upcoming retirement of a longtime and highly valued employee. After more than 32 years of dedicated service to the county, Pam Teets of the Treasurer's Office will be retiring at the end of this month. Throughout her tenure, Pam has been a steadfast presence and a trusted resource, contributing significantly to the proficiency and integrity of our financial operations. Her deep institutional knowledge, professionalism, and commitment to public service have left a lasting impact not only within the Treasurer's Office, but across the county. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to Pam for her decades of service and wish her all the best in her well-earned retirement. Plans are underway to appropriately recognize and celebrate this milestone, and we invite board members to join us in honoring her remarkable career. We will have cake in the break room following the board meeting today. Recent hires. We recently extended an offer of employment to Braxton Thompson as a full-time deputy sheriff. Start date to be determined based on pre-employment screenings. I have two statements I just wanted to provide you with. What's going on in the HR office. First is just expanded recruitment outreach. As part of our strategic efforts to broaden our recruitment reach and attract emerging talent, the Human Resources Department has recently partnered with the College Central Network, which is a leading platform connecting employers with college students and recent graduates nationwide. This network is known as the Home of America's Emerging Talent. It allows us to promote our open positions to a diverse and skilled pool of candidates from colleges and universities across the country. By expanding our presence on this platform, we aim to strengthen our talent pipeline, enhance workforce diversity, and ensure we remain competitive in today's job market. Additionally, we have also increased our use of social media advertising for open positions. We are now promoting job opportunities through the official Pipestone County Facebook page more frequently to increase visibility and engage within the community and beyond. I encourage board members to follow our page if you're not already, and when possible, share these posts within your own networks. Your support in helping amplify these opportunities plays a valuable role in our outreach efforts and helps demonstrate our organization's commitment to transparency and community involvement in the hiring process. And lastly, just a brief statement on the Human Resource Information System and payroll software evaluation. As part of our ongoing commitment to improving operational efficiency and the employee experience, the Human Resource Department has initiated a comprehensive review of our current human resources information system and payroll platform. The existing system, while functional, has become increasingly outdated and lacks many of the features and integrations that modern solutions offer. In response to this, we are actively researching more advanced HRIS payroll systems that align with our organizational needs. Our goal is to identify a platform that enhances functionality, streamlines administrative processes, ensures compliance, and improves data accuracy and accessibility. We are prioritizing solutions that offer improved user experience, automation capabilities, and seamless integration with other organizational systems. We will continue to evaluate viable options through our vendor demonstrations, peer agency benchmarking, and total cost analysis. A final recommendation will be brought forward once we are confident that the selected system will deliver meaningful long-term value and support the strategic goals of our county. And finally, I just welcome any feedback from the board. Additional details, clarification if necessary.
Mr. Chair, I do have one question for you in regards to the College Central Network that we're partnering with. What is the cost for that partnership?
Currently, no cost. Just from the positions that I've posted so far, I do believe that there will be a cost for the number of postings, how long you're posting them, but as it stands now, no cost.
Similar to a lot of those online recruitment efforts, you know.
Yep.
Indeed, or some of those I heard of.
I just want to say thank you for the comprehensive update. This is very nice to get such a detailed update on everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Very, very appreciative. So, anything else for Charlotte?
No, doing great.
Oh, you're doing great. Thank you.
Thank you.
The board to go say thank you to Pam who's here today. I did get a pipe for her as a note of appreciation, so I'll be giving that to her this afternoon.
Shouldn't want to take the time during the meeting today. No,
she's kind of shy.
well, I'm not surprised to hear that, but I am very happy that Charlotte did give a summary on Pam's tenure here. That was very nice because a lot of people don't always see or experience that when coming through here, and especially how important she has been.
We've been very fortunate that we've had a large number of very, very dedicated employees over the years, and I like to be able to recognize always afraid that we might forget or slight somebody. You never want to do that, but we also want to make sure that we can recognize those, so it's nice.
Pam's been an outstanding employee.
Yeah.
How can you be shy after 32 years working for the county?
Did say it after the
Oh, I suppose.
Yeah.
care of everything.
Yeah.
It is too bad we couldn't have gotten somebody sooner though to work with her before she left.
Yeah.
Goes sometimes.
All right, is there any other business to come before the board?
I would just note on our upcoming meetings, 6/17 grill out wasn't on the list.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, 6/17 grill out. Yep.
Yeah.
People don't forget.
Thank you, Luke, for the
Sending out
reminder.
notices to that to everybody too, so.
Yeah.
For upcoming meetings, we do have a PCMC meeting at 1 PM today, then on 6:10 regular board meeting, 6:16 county board and appeal equalization at 7 PM. As Luke mentioned, on the 17th, we have the grill out. On the 24th, we have a regular board meeting at 9 and PCMC board meeting at 1 PM. There's no other business come before the board. I'll declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep. Before you go.
Yeah, it was.